Yul Edochie, Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, Nick Cannon, Flavor, Davido, Wizkid, all of these people have one thing in common. They all have multiple children from multiple women, okay? Now, I'm here to speak about the prevalence of having kids with multiple women. In either way, it could be through Yul style or Ned Woko style, multiple wives, okay? That's a polygamous setting. Or it could be through having multiple baby mamas, okay? Now, the question is this: is it right? So for instance, someone like you, Edochie, will say, I am an Igbo man. In my tradition, we are allowed to have multiple wives. It is my right as an Igbo man, okay? Now, for some people, they use the whole defense of, this is my culture, this is my tradition. And the question is, okay, culturally speaking, we can try to say, okay, let us consider it is your culture, your tradition. But we can go beyond who you are as a person and look at your obligations. Now, what do I mean? As a man, we understand that one of the most important things for you as a man is to, first of all, be able to provide and protect. Okay? Those are the two core things, that responsibilities that you must undergo in order for you to be successful as a man. You must be able to provide and protect. Now, the question is this, because we have to stop thinking like zombies and stop saying things like, it's my tradition, it's my right, I am a man. And we have to look at the consequences of our decisions. So for instance now, it's okay to drink Golden Morn every day. But if you now find out that, there's nothing bad in eating Golden Morn. If I eat Golden Morn today, there's one diabetes that will just catch me. We used to eat the Golden Morn. That's the question to ask. So now, you're saying, okay, it's your right as a man to have multiple wives. Now, let us now check what are the consequences. I mean, are they good sides, are they bad sides? Let us investigate. And we're going to investigate on various levels. We're going to start look at the social level, we're going to look at the emotional level and all of those things. And part of being a man is also ensuring that you're a good husband and you're a good father. So let us look at the consequences, in terms of these people around you, which will be your wives or / your baby mamas and your kids. First thing to note, let us look at a case study, say Tuface, okay? Tuface and his wife, Annie Dibia. Now, I think Tuface has about 2 or 3 baby mamas, that's inclusive of his wives. We have seen the issue that, occurs, okay? The issue that occurs with Tuface and his wife. I think 2 or 3 years ago, she came online and was ranting and, was talking about how Tuface would go and stay in Peru's house and all of those things. And she has children. The baby mama Peru also has children. And these children are siblings. And so when one woman is fighting another woman, guess what? The children must pick a side, whether they like it or not. And guess whose side they will pick? Not the father, the mother. Why? Because it's been statistically proven that children are more likely to be eligible to have stronger loyal bonds with the mother and not the father. We can see this in society. We can see that a child can grow up. The father might not have been a bad person, but the mother lied to the child about what the father was doing, or the mother painted the father in a bad way, and so the child ends up hating the father. Growing up only to realize that your mother was lying all along. And so we realize that when a man tells the side of the story and the woman tells her side of the story, children are more likely to believe the mother. So you are saying that, okay, you know what? I'm going to have multiple baby mamas. What now happens when you die? When you die, this means that these women are most likely going to fight against each other. And let us even, come back a bit. Let us look at the nature of women. Have you noticed something about women? And, some people are going to accuse me of being very misogynistic or whatever. But let us try to analyze this on a very logical perspective. If you have friends that are men, you have friends that are women, ask yourself genuinely, which relationships last more? So for instance now, a man that has a friend that is a guy and they can be friends for 15 years, 20 years, they can count the number of serious issues they've had as friends. But on more cases than not, you're going to see a woman that has a friend, before you know they are fighting. Before you know they've not spoken for 1 year. Why? She did something to me, did something to me, or she did something to me, she did something to me. What's the point? The point is that even within relationships, we can see that women are not able to, maintain this relationship. Even when it's on a platonic level, this guy, you're my guy, they struggle to maintain harmony with each other. Let's look at statistics. Now, a statistic was released, between gay homosexuals, lesbian homosexuals, and married men and women, that is heterosexual relationships. It said that Out of these levels and classifications of relationships, marriages rather, that had the highest rate of domestic violence and divorce were lesbian relationships. So this means that even when women are happy with themselves, even when women are friends with themselves, even when women are romantically involved with each other, women are still more likely to end friendships and relationships or marriages with one another, as opposed to, say, a man versus a woman or a man versus a man. We are discussing how often women break up when they are dating each other, when they are befriending each other. And you are now trying to make them stand at opposing sides against one another, where they have to compete for the man's love, they have to compete for the man's attention, and all of those things. Within a family unit, a man has his place, a woman has her place. The man's job primarily is provision and protection. The woman's job primarily is nurturing. Now, what happens is the woman is primarily responsible for the emotional aspect of the child's well-being, love, vulnerability, the ability to express yourself emotionally, and all of these things. Now, what this means is that when you put a woman on one side, you put another woman on another side, and you put a man in between them, either in a baby mama scenario or in a polygamous scenario, you're going to have women that are going to be making the child see the other person as the bad person. So guess what? Women are responsible for unity of the homes. And if that unity is not there, then your house is going to be like a chaotic ground. In fact, it's statistically proven that households that grow up with, in polygamous settings are less likely to be chaotic than households that grow up in a monogamous setting. And by the way, in Nigeria, I think 28% of families are actually polygamous in nature. So what this means essentially is that while people are trying to ride on that logic to say that I am entitled to multiple wives, there is a looming consequence, which is number one, among the different wives, your children are likely to have great jealousy, envy, and rivalry for each other. Number two, you are most likely going to have a favorite child. It's bad enough for children to struggle with competition within a monogamous setting. What happens in a polygamous setting is that if you dare show any sort of love to one child, of which you're a human being, there'll be bias here and there, the other children will envy that child. In fact, the mothers would, if the children don't see, the mothers would inspire that envy, would inspire that division. So that's one consequence that you should be aware of. Look at the case of Yul Edochie, who left his wife and married another person. Can you possibly tell me that his children, who, by the way, I heard that are not even in stalking relationship with him, are going to extend love to the other wife's, kids? What then is the unity? If there's no unity, then how can it be called a family? If the basic backbone for what it means to be a family is unity. Another angle to come at this from is, now we've left the emotional angle, we are now going into the academic angle. Now, research done by ResearchGateNet or something did, some studies, and they realized that children who came from polygamous households or who came from single households actually, were more likely to struggle academically than children who came from monogamous households. Now, why? I could think of a couple of reasons. Number one reason is that it is easier to divide yourself for proper child development when you come from a monogamous household. So let's say that, for instance, the father is a dunce, the mother is a smart person. The mother will be the one to ensure that these things are happening. Or let's say the father is the smart one and the mother is the dunce. The father is the one that is going to ensure that, okay, let me help my child with coursework, with classwork, with exercise, and all of those things. So for proper child development, even from an academic standpoint, we can see that children are more likely to perform better when they come from a monogamous household. And so what this means essentially is that a man can just sit down and say, okay, I don't need to get married. I just need to have children from multiple baby mamas. We have this nonsense, ideology that goes on where a man will feel like, okay, because I have made money, because I have done this, because I have done that, then it means that I don't necessarily need to settle down. Why? Because women bring nothing to the table. I have the money and I have all of those mindsets. People like Andrew Tate that drive those nonsense philosophy, trying to bring life down to just a materialistic perspective, forgetting that there are other aspects to life which are not materialistic, but which are even more real than the things we see and the things we touch. So we have that to consider. Now, we also have a financial perspective to consider. What this means essentially is this. So in Nigeria, households that are polygamous in nature have a poverty index of 77, right? While households that are monogamous in nature have about a poverty index of 70. Now, what this just simply means is this: it is easier to feed a family of 4, a family of 3 with 1 woman, than to feed a family of 15 with 3 wives. Another thing to consider is this: a woman can be more understanding if, let's say that maybe you are just managing to go by and you're trying to put food on the table. She can more understand, but the moment a woman is competing with another woman for your attention and you do anything for that woman, this woman also demands that you do it for her. So guess what? You also, even besides the fact that you have more people to cater for, you also have the fact that jealousy would lead to an increased spending, because what you do for one, you must do for another person. What you do for one child, you must do for the other child. So there's also that as a contributing factor for increased level of poverty. Now, we also have crime rates, and this is more prevalent in single households. So let's say, for instance, now, you're a man, you believe in having multiple baby mamas. This is more prevalent for you. And it is the fact that the absence or the lack of enough father figure can lead to a higher crime rate. And this particular statistic was taken from the fatherless.org or something. And they stated that 70 to about 85% of people in the West who end up in prison actually grew up without fathers. 70 to 85%. This is not a fluke. This is 70 to 85% of people who end up in prisons actually grew up without fathers. Now, if that's not a statistic that catches your attention, I don't know what is. And when I say grew up without father, I mean grew up in single mother households. Their father would appear, but that means that single mother household means that their mother was not married. So while you're saying that, oh, I don't need to get married, the likelihood that the children that you intend dumping on different women are more likely to end up as criminals is very high. Because guess what? When a child knows that you're not very present, you're just a father that comes and goes, that child will naturally be rebellious in nature. Now, what's the point? The point is this: while society will make the whole baby mama feel like a flex, a woman is trying to get pregnant for a man just so she can keep his child and so she can be getting monthly stipend while she's still living her life of freedom. A man can want to have multiple baby mamas just so that he doesn't have to commit to any of them. A man can want to have multiple wives just so that he can feel those lustful desires. There are consequences. And the consequences will not be on you, to be on your children. But guess what? When you raise useless and irresponsible children, it will still fall on you, because they'll ensure that you die early. And rightfully so, because you should die early. This simply means that while we are aware as Gen Zs, while we are, we are very self-aware, we are very exposed, let wisdom not be far from us. There is more to life than ourselves. And what this just means is that we must consider the consequences of our actions on our children. Now, I have proven to you with true statistics from a health perspective, from a psychological and emotional perspective, from a financial perspective, from a social perspective, from every possible ramification, why it is a bad idea to have multiple baby mamas, why it is a bad idea to have multiple wives. If you like, listen. If you like, don't listen. I've done my part, and I leave the peace of the Lord with you. But let this just enable you make informed decisions. And I hope this helps, okay? If you have a friend that loves the idea of baby mamas here and there, please send this video to him. Explain to him that we are not dogs, okay? And thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. See you next week. Like, share, comments. Bye.